All right, thanks everybody for coming. I'm gonna start my panel early before anybody's in here so I can answer all the questions I don't want to answer. All right, cool. There we go, I've already started. All right. Love, exciting and new. Come aboard. Then go to the audience there. Pan out to the audience. We've been expecting you. Goku's panel promises something for everyone. Goku's panel. Wait, no. I'm trying to remember the lyrics to Love Boat. Set a course for adventure, your heart on a new Kamehameha. And love won't hurt anymore. No, look at the audience. There's nobody there. Wait, there's nobody there. I love it. An open sky on a friendly shore. The Love Boat. Welcome aboard, it's love. Wait, I got one person on my panel? You can't start loading the panel up? What are we waiting on? Why are the doors shut? You have to clean it? Oh, okay, sorry. I'm saying things. I'm talking, saying things. They're taking pictures of me, so. This is surreal. I normally come out after everybody's in the room. Oh, she's gonna direct you. Full capacity, which is gonna get really hot in this room. No, I don't know. Once all the body heat starts irradiating. Oh no, not sexy hot. I don't think it's gonna be. It's gonna be, I'm at a convention hot. Wait, that's not a musical chair. Wait. Oh, we got both of them. That doesn't sound like musical chairs. That is not. I'm mad about the headphone jack. Like, this will probably be my last iPhone, which I didn't want to buy to begin with. I love a headphone jack. Yeah. It's real simple. You can just plug your headphones into it. I don't need the Bluetooth. And the reason I like Bluetooth is because that's something else I have to charge. Nah, it's all good. All right, cool. Oh wait, you're starting?
Yeah, let me start.
Okay, you're starting.
Because I have instructions, unfortunately. I do not, as you can see, I do not have a floating mic. So, and I know that you guys want to ask this lovely man all the bajillion million questions about Goku and how to do amazing things.
You don't watch Dragon Ball, do you? Yeah, you don't.
I do.
You're wearing the wrong shirt.
Honestly, I got stuck in that Frieza battle over and over.
Oh, okay. So I couldn't tell.
That's where I was. Yeah. So I promise I have. And I do know something else. If you're interested in checking out that new game with Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, there is a copy on the floor, so you guys can actually play some of it.
Oh, there's a demo? There's a playable demo?
There is a playable demo.
Oh, sweet. Where's that at? Is that the Namco Bandai booth or where?
I think it's the Bandai booth. Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Sony,
PlayStation.
Oh, Sony's putting it up.
Yeah,
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so if you guys want to check that out, you can.
Since they bought Funimation.
Okay.
They did.
So, I'm going to ask you guys to line up here.
No, we're not lining up. No, this is not how I do it.
Oh,
Here's why.
Okay.
They always have these, no offense to you, dumb ideas at panels where they put a mic at the front, then everybody lines up, and here's what happens. No, I don't want anybody at the front. I want you to either Donahue this, or I'm just going to call people out, because what will happen is if people come up to the front, and then they have the mic, then there's a long line, and then nobody can see, and then I never get to the next person. It's like everybody waiting forever, and the last 10 people don't get a question. It's just better if we Donahue it.
Okay.
And if you had a remote mic, it'd be easier for you to Donahue it, but you can't. So how long is that cable?
This cable can go...
I mean, I guess I could
here.
call people out and have them run up to you and then go sit down, but some people are very ensconced in their seats. So, and the room's so small, I might be able to hear them. There's just a lot of stuff that makes things more complicated than it should be. Although it seems like I'm doing that right now, but I'm not.
Roll the way you want to roll.
Trust me, I've done this for 20 years. I know exactly what sucks and what doesn't. And the line with the mic, it always is a disaster, and it always blocks everybody's view. So, what is your name again?
My name is Jessica. But
Jessica, that's easy to remember. Well, because I have a sister named Jessica, so that's it's.
I do have a question to start us off.
Yes, you can start us off.
I know that you're the voice of Goku, but you obviously have done many, many other things.
Can
you give us
Yeah,
a quick
I don't
overview?
usually, sit here and list all my credits, but
Yes.
I worked, I've been a voice actor for 20 years. My first job was Dragon Ball Z. My first audition was Goku, and then since then I've worked on Pokemon, Ninja Turtles, Yu-Gi-Oh, Yu-Gi-Oh GX, Yu-Gi-Oh 5Ds, Scooby-Doo, Batman game, Fallout. Let's see, I was just in Welcome to the Wayne. My IMDb has it. I don't keep track of it.
No worries.
Sorry, I'm trying to look it up. What else I did? I don't know. What am I doing?
It's just to illustrate that you're
Yeah, I don't get
more
Ricky.
than just Goku.
Yeah, it's not frustrating. I kind of like it that way, only because I'm the kind of voice actor I'm not reading while I'm on a panel. I'm trying to find my credits because I don't know what I've done. Sophia the First, I was in that. Little Big Awesome, I was in that. God of War, I was in that. Pop Team Magic, Star vs. the Forces of Evil, Adventures of Kid Danger. Let's see. So I do lots of other voices. Anyway, and Willy Wonka. Oh, I love doing Willy Wonka. I did Tom and Jerry, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. That was so much fun because that's like my favorite movie of all time, and I got to play Veruca Salt's dad, Mr. Salt. I got to play Mr. Turpentine. When I mix these chemicals together, it makes the world's greatest water remover. I got to do him, and I got to sing all the Oompa Loompa songs. And I got to go, you get no commercials. I got to do that. It was really fun. Oompa Loompa. And by the way, when I was a kid, I watched the Oompa Loompa. I watched Willy Wonka with my grandmother. Oompa Loompa scared the shit out of me. I was terrified. I was 4 or 5 years old maybe when I watched it with her, and I was terrified of the Oompa Loompas. I was like terrified but yet compelled to keep watching. Because they were supposed to be good guys who were helping Willy Wonka out, but they just seemed like creepy little people who were gonna do something bad to me if I did not behave. Which they didn't. They were totally nice. I think the minor key of the song really, got me in a dark place as a 5-year-old. But I adore that movie. Anyway, all right. Let's start taking some questions. Let's get this guy here with the thing. Doctor Strange. Yes, I love Doctor Strange. I didn't see the medallion. I love Doctor Strange.
There it is.
There we go.
So I guess first off, welcome, and hope you've been having a great day so far. That's not my question though. My question is, with all the roles you've done, including Goku, obviously, what about these roles have had a huge impact on your life?
Well, the character or what comes from the role? Because the thing that has the biggest impact on my life has been Dragon Ball and Goku because of look at the room. Like, this is amazing. And that's had a huge impact on me. As far as like how a character can impact you as a person?
Perhaps, but even just like voicing Goku, as well as the other characters, but like what voicing Goku has meant to you and to your life, and just what sort of impact it's really had on you.
And so you don't mean, okay, sorry, I'm a picky listener.
Yep.
So like, you're not saying how just how playing the character has affected my life, just all the spoils that go with playing that character.
Yeah, and like, how fulfilling it's been.
Oh, I always, look, I'm 50 years old, and I started working on the show when I was 30, and I consider everything I have in life I owe to Akira Toriyama Sensei and the powers that be that brought Dragon Ball to the US, etc. So I can't, even when I fantasize about like other lives or careers that seem more opulent or amazing than mine, I don't want them. Like, it's because I think about it in broad terms sometimes. It's just it literally is like a dream come true every day. It really is. It's very strange. It's like winning the lottery every day without the millions of dollars. But other than that, it's because there's not. But that's okay. That's not the big deal. It's because the gratification part is like doing panels like this and meeting you guys and going to the conventions. I'm a bit of an introvert, I've discovered, even though I seem like an extrovert, and so I get worn out pretty hard from conventions. Like, I know some people that like just go, and I will sometimes just have a time where I need to be like left alone for like 2 weeks because I'm not faking it, because I'm always trying to be genuine with every person. It takes a lot of personal energy. I don't necessarily think the Myers-Briggs is that scientific, but the theory goes that if you're an introvert, you recharge energetically by being alone, and if you're an extrovert, you recharge energetically by interacting with people. I'm leaning towards extrovert, but a bit of an introvert, so I can do this for a while, but then I get worn out. But then once I'm done being worn out, I have all these memories and all this stuff that, that I take in my phone and pictures I see online and all the years of joy that it seems to have brought you guys. And it's, if you've ever wondered, like, it's hard to put in perspective, but if you ever wonder about your own life, like what will I leave behind or what will you do? For me, the legacy is this, regardless of my other voice work. And so it's, I can't believe I'm sitting here to this day. I can't believe I'm still doing this 20 years later. I'm not done with Dragon Ball Super either. I got about 4 or 5 episodes to wrap on that. And then who knows what else is coming. The powers that be in Japan have not told me what's going on, but they have intimated to me that they have big plans for Dragon Ball. So I don't know what that's going to be, but as long as my voice works, I'll be doing it. So it's a long answer to a good question. But I think about these things philosophically. Let's get Batman here. Batman, yeah, right there. Don't worry, I'll make sure she goes around the room. And if she can't reach, just come on up to her, and or you can just talk loud.
Hey, so just wanted to ask, you've done Z, you've done GT, and Super. Goku's been quite different in each of those.
Yeah.
How would you describe the differences, and which do you prefer?
Well, it's tricky because, you're talking about differences. I don't know how much differences there are between the Japanese language, Z, GT, and Super, versus script adaptations for Z, Kai, GT, and Super. And I've been a script adapter. I was an ADR director in New York and a script adapter for 3 years. And when I first started, I was doing very loose interpretations of my shows, just kind of making it as American as possible. And then I completely realized that was dumb. And I started writing my shows as close to the Japanese as possible, but to try to make it enjoyable for American audiences, particularly when it comes to humor. Humor doesn't always translate real well across multiple languages. So we'll add a joke or we'll tweak a joke here and there. So I guess the differences you're talking about are probably between the 3 English language versions, because Z was written originally to be what I call the Pokemon formula, which is, hey, try to make this show not as Japanese as possible, which was the trend in the late 90s, early 2000s. And then, as anime got more popular and more acceptable in the mainstreams, et cetera, I think the creators in America, the localizers is what they're called, a localization company, realized that, and I've always believed this, because the reason I've always believed it is because I believe art is a human thing that transcends all cultures and all languages. So if Dragon Ball is massively popular in Japan, you don't need to Americanize it for it to be massively popular in the US, because the story's strong. If the story's strong, it's going to translate. And I was making that argument for years. Only until we did Kai did we finally do it like right, and not that it's wrong otherwise, it was just contextually what was the industry trend. So the difference is, I know that Goku's as a character is played more like a altruistic superhero character, which Akira Toriyama's made it clear that he's not. And GT, that's not even his work, and I only play adult Goku in that, so I don't have a lot of that story. I haven't watched it since I've done it, so I don't, Goku's an adult. Hey, I come in and do some voices. The rest of the storyline's going on with Kid Goku, and they didn't want me to do that voice, which I understand, that's fine. And then Kai, well, it's Stephanie did a good job. They did toy with the idea of every time Goku as a kid thinks it was my voice, because he's still an adult, which I agreed with, because I wanted a paycheck. But also artistically, I agreed with it. But they didn't, so that's fine. And then Kai, they finally, really purest form. And with Super, I'm like, I would appreciate if I could have Japanese scripts in the booth every time I work. And my producer supports that, so he lets me do that. And if I see lines that don't fit with what I believe is the canon of Goku, which is that he's not a proud Saiyan warrior, he is, he is a beginner's mind all the time. He's always a childlike state. That's Vegeta's venue, the proud Saiyan warrior. People always want to make Goku that way because they think it's badass. And I'm like, let's let Vegeta be badass, and Goku can be a different kind of badass. Because he is. He's a different kind of badass, if you really think about it. And he's also kind of, as I've discovered in recent years, and I've known this for a while, but in recent years it's become more evident that he really is the quagmire of Dragon Ball, except for instead of for ladies, it's for fighting. He's like, is there fighting? Giggity! Like, it's exactly the same. He is a hound for fighting. I hate to put it in that context, but, I watched a lot of Family Guy. My girlfriend loves that show, so we watch a lot of Family Guy, and I've seen a lot of, my favorite thing is when Family Guy, when when Peter gets a bird, this falcon or something, and names him Xerxes or something like that. I'm driving around with Xerxes. You know, he's doing and he has I don't know, I just thought that was particularly funny. I like weird, quirky things in cartoons. Like, I love Rick and Morty, and my favorite character is Bird Person. I love Bird Person so much. And I played Hawkman on the parody of it on a show, but I always thought, until I really understood the lore of Hawkman, that was kind of a dumb character, but now I don't think it is. And then Bird Person, he's like Bird Phoenix later or something, which I think, I met Justin Roiland, and he told me that I think that character, Bird Person, is voiced by Dan Harmon. I'm not sure, but I think it is. And Justin's a really nice guy. It was really an honor to meet him. That show is probably one of the most polished, especially the first season. I was blown away at how polished. Usually cartoons, the first season's kind of rough. Man, that first season of Rick and Morty is so polished. I was so impressed with it, because I just expected there to be all kinds of first season mistakes you'll see on an animation. And season 2 doesn't look much different. I'm really impressed with that production. Anyway, I digress. What was the question? Oh yeah, changes. I don't know. I would have to watch and the problem with the Japanese translations is, and this is what the tricky part I have with the manga, it's kind of like going to a Chinese doctor. If you go to 5 different Chinese doctors, you're going to go get 5 different Chinese diagnoses, because I've been to a lot of Chinese medicine doctors, and they'll tell you, and that's not bad necessarily, but sometimes it's not accurate. And you do 5 different translations from 5 different Japanese translators, you get, and I'm particularly picky about English language. So, like, I'll see, manga version, then I'll see the subtitle version. I'm like, wait a second, those 2 sentences connotate 2 very different meanings, where another person might go, it's the same thing, whatever, blow it off. I'm like, I don't blow it off. Like, I'm a very particular person when it comes to language. And so, like, for example, when we were doing the Dragon Ball movie, Battle of Gods, when he meets Beerus, they had written, they were trying to do this formal speech Goku is doing with Beerus when he's trying to do honorifics and stuff, and oh yes sir, and but they had this thee, thou, and your highness, and all this Britishy vernacular, and I really didn't feel like Goku would have any access to that, really understand that, or have watched British television, or I was like, I don't even know, he wouldn't even know how to, so I just made him really stumble in a dorky way, and I ad-libbed a lot of that in Battle of Gods, because I didn't believe that he would have access to that kind of knowledge to ad-lib in that way. So you have to think about, what's Goku doing with his spare time? How would he say that? Is it consistent with his level of education? Does he even know 4-syllable words? That's why I loved it in Broly, where he's like, I learned that word. I forgot what it was. What was it? It was a gross... Repugnant, yeah. And we toyed with several jokes on that line, but I thought that was really great, At the very end, what did he say? He said, my friends say this place is repugnant, or something like that. That's a word. And I tried to read, like, that's a word I learned. And Goku's not stupid. He just didn't go to school. The Cell saga proves he's a long game chess player. He played the long game with Cell. He kept that Gohan, his secret, hidden. So it was very smart of him. So I hope that answers your question. I tend to tangentialize. And by the way, let's try to keep it a wide swath. Let's get some of these guys over here with the beard and the shirt, and we'll get some people back in there, and if we can at some point. We got time, right? What time do I got to wrap this panel? Do I have 15 minutes? 4? Okay, cool.
All right, so, my question really for you is, like, how did you get started? Like, because you've been working with Funimation, so what was the process to actually, start working with them, or like, how did that occur, that sort of thing?
Well, Funimation, it was a small company when we first started working on Dragon Ball, and they were originally working in Vancouver on the Ocean Group, and they had originally cast the show with a bunch of Canadian actors, and they decided to move production to Texas. And so when they brought us in for the audition, this is not common in animation auditions as much as I thought it was. And they just had us listen to, we wanted us to voice match because they wanted to save money. I don't know what their motivations were, because I knew that the company was from Texas and they had land in Texas, and the overhead was significantly cheaper to produce the show in Texas versus Vancouver. And so Ian had done the first 26 episodes, and Peter Klamas did the next 26, and then they moved to Texas. And then I started, and then they said, well, match these voices, and then I did my best voice match for that, and King Kai and Nail, because I also voiced King Kai on the show. A lot of people just don't realize I voiced King Kai as well. I think that's hilarious that people don't know that, which makes me happy, because if I'm doing my job right as a voice actor, you're not thinking about me. You're thinking about the character. I want to suspend your disbelief. So when I'm doing King Kai, and I want you to know it's me, because, because then it's, what I mean? I want you to have that experience. So, that's my job as an actor. So they set us in a room and they said, copy these voices. And then they had us audition, and they didn't tell us what the voices were, what show was for. They didn't tell us anything. They just had to picture the characters, some animation we watched, and I didn't think I was going to get a part at all. I honestly didn't. And then I thought I was going to get Captain Ginyu for sure, and was super disappointed when I did not get that part, since I did not know anything. And the Chris Sabat called me up, who was not a friend of mine at the time. We are friends now and have been for 20 years, but he's like, yeah, you're gonna be Goku. I'm like, you sure about that? Because I really nailed that other part. And he's like, no, trust me, you're gonna want this part. I'm like, all right, cool. So then I went to work, and it took me about 2 weeks of recording before I realized I was playing the main character on the show. So I was like, oh, wow, that's awesome. Like, I was really Gokuing out, so to speak. I was pretty clueless about that. And then I thought I could make every fight reaction different, not realizing there were 297 episodes of fighting or whatever, 99. I can't remember how many episodes there are. 200. It's a lot of episodes. That was a dumb move. But one rule I haven't changed, which I try to, and hopefully it's evidenced by the Jiren stuff, and is, you can't half-ass it. You know what I mean? Like, and what always is guiding me is the intensity of the animation. So I'm glad I get to dub, because if they wanted me to if it just said Kamehameha, then big scream, and I didn't have animation, and I didn't know that scream was going to go on 3 or 4 minutes, I'd scream, for 20 seconds. Go, okay, cool, next, because that's what you do in a prelay show. But because we're dubbing, I get to see all the power and all the energy, and I let that inspire me, inform me of the kind of, commitment I need to give to it. And then I go as hard as I can until my voice hurts, or it keeps hurting, and then we play it back, and then we listen to it, and then I'm like, okay. And I usually get approval on whether or not because I want it to be just, I want everybody just losing their minds. Like, I love the Broly movie, and just people, just the popcorn's flying, they're losing their minds, we're screaming, it's great. Because you're having a great time, and I know that feeling from when I was watching my favorite shows growing up, so I just want to pass it on, So I hope that answers the question. I get to tangentialize. Yes, Jessica, yes.
Okay, sorry. My question to you, like, your voice, it's so clear, it's so easy to understand you. Like, did you go through any formal voice training, like, in your life, or did you just, like, jump
That's
in?
funny.
Like...
Well, that's really funny, because I was born in Iowa. Iowa's a Midwestern state, and that's kind of where, it used to be the kind of the land of where middle speech is. You're not from, you don't have an accent, so to speak. Supposedly, you do not have an accent. And the reason I think it's funny that you mentioned that is because I moved to Texas when I was 12, and this is not true today. I have a lot of Texas friends, and I spent 22 years in Texas, but I went to elementary school, junior high and high school there, as well as college there, and both my exes live in Texas. So, but I remember, it's funny that you mentioned that as far as the diction goes, because I remember going to Texas and thinking, afraid I was going to get a Texas accent because I didn't want to sound stupid. And I realized that Texans are not stupid, they just have an accent. But I didn't figure that out until after living there for 20 years and met a bunch of my smart Texan friends that are like, all right, so we're going to talk about some quantum physics, y'all. You got a boson particle going through 350 miles of lead. How many atoms is it going to bump into? The answer is 0. I had this pre-bias that, as a kid, that you sound like you wouldn't sound smart if you sounded that way. And I think a lot of ladies go through this. You talk about in business circles where ladies go through this, where if you get a business job, you got to talk low. All this misogynistic BS where you got to change. You'll see. And I've met business ladies like, hi, I'm Susan. I'm like, why are you talking so low? I say, well, I learned this at a seminar that I'll be taken more seriously if I talk low, which, oddly enough, is a true thing, I guess. I don't know. I try not to judge people after being a voice actor for so many years. I'm more fascinated by people's voices than I am judging of them, And I've grown and changed as a person. As a kid, I'm like judging that. And now I don't read a voice by its cover anymore. Like I've met people who, and especially if they're from another country and the English is their second language, I've met people who, could barely speak English. Well, yes, in my country, I am surgeon. And I'm like, oh yeah, well in Russian, you're a surgeon, right? So it's I guess the point I'm trying to make is that I speak very clearly because I had a fear of sounding stupid. And I was also born in a state without an accent, I guess. And I also was fascinated by voices when I was a kid, and I loved listening to newscasters. So I loved it, and they're taught to speak in a certain You go to elocution school to do newscasting speech so that everybody can understand you. Which is when I meet somebody from a foreign country and they ask me how to get better at English, other than recommending the ESL tapes I've recorded where I'm teaching you how to speak English, which is true, by the way, where I'm going, I'd like to buy an orange. Like, I have to say that, and they record me saying that, you know? I did that like 10 years ago, right? But I will tell people from other countries, I say, if you want to get good at English, watch the news, because they're going to speak very clearly, you know, tonight's top stories. So I listen to Walter Cronkite, Charles Kuralt, all the old newscasters, Tom Brokaw. They always listen to those really rich voices that sound, you know, I always enjoyed that. So I try to be, you know, as clear as possible. And then when I studied music, I was a professional French hornist. You know, one of the things we focus on a lot is our tongue and articulation for playing an instrument, which develops those muscles, which translate. There's all kinds of other interconnected ways that affect your diction. God, my answers are so long and stupid. I'm sorry I tangentialized so much. Let's get somebody back in the back. Let's get this, let's get the little girl right there. The little girl right there with the hair. Yes, that's colored.
Who is your favorite person to, like, act with?
You mean like, sorry, I just thought of my favorite person to act with. I really love, when you're voice acting, we don't act with other actors very often unless we are doing what's called a prelay show. And prelay means we're laying down voices before it's animated, whereas on Dragon Ball, since it comes from another country, we're dubbing it after the fact. It's originally recorded in Japanese, and then we dub it, right? However, one of the people I act with and ad-lib with very well is Sonny Strait, the voice of Krillin. We'll ad-lib for hours. We're actually working on an animated podcast called Sayin' Stuff, S-A-Y-I-N. We're not violating any copyright. S-A-Y-I-N, saying stuff, but we just say saying stuff. And basically, Sonny and I just ad-lib on a mic for an hour, and then he goes and animates little snippets of it, and he's animated 2 of them, and he just drew us like Hanna-Barbera cartoons, and we're just talking about stuff, just rant. It's basically like how I'm ad-libbing and ranting, but Sonny's doing it with me, and he is so good at ad-libbing with me. We just sometimes if I get on the phone to talk to him for 5 minutes, it's always an hour conversation, and we're not even talking about things we meant to talk about. So I guess the voice of Krillin, my best friend on the TV show, would be my favorite person to act with, you know, in terms of ad-libbing. But that's a good point, because we act alone a lot, and one of the things I've been really craving as an actor has been I've been wanting to act with other people more. So I'm looking at doing some on camera, maybe some stand-up comedy, maybe some improv comedy. I'm hoping to do. I've been so focused on Dragon Ball and voice acting and other stuff in my life that I'm getting to a point where I'm like, okay, it's time to expand your horizons as an artist. So yeah, exactly. Good head on your shoulders. I like that. Yeah, she's smart. Thank you for that question. Thank you. Let's go in the back. Let's go with that guy in the back. And then I want to get somebody inland here, because I think people inland get neglected because they're ensconced by other people. Yeah.
What do you think of the more serious tone of the Japanese version of King Kai as compared to yours?
Well, we talk about that because I'm doing King Kai like that because that's the way, I think it was Terry Clausen did it, and he did a voice that sounded to me like Buddy Hackett. And yeah, for those of you who know who Buddy Hackett is. And so I went to Buddy Hackett's webpage. I think he's died since then, but I went to Buddy Hackett's webpage, and it sounds like King Kai telling a bunch of dirty jokes. It does. I was like, whoa, Buddy Hackett really sounds a lot like, and I don't know if Terry was copying Buddy Hackett or whatever. The only thing we notice about the Japanese version is we don't understand, and I asked a Japanese person, they said, oh yeah, it totally makes sense in Japanese, but you'll see King Kai freaking out, and it's like giant mouth flaps, right? Except all you hear is, I can't speak Japanese, but it sounds like this very old man who can barely speak, right? Which apparently goes with the character in Japanese. I certainly don't want to offend that actor because he's obviously acting the part right for Japanese language. And so we noticed that, and I don't know if I would have come up with such a goofy voice for King Kai had I thought of it, but I do like goofy voices. Like one of the goofy voices I came up with for an anime dub was Dr. Velian Crowler. That was totally my creation to talk like this the whole time, because I thought it was very pompousy, right? It's a very character voice, or a Jama Yellow. I made him talk like this. You know, he had this high squeaky voice. So for King Kai, if I were doing that voice now, I definitely would have given him something jowly, because I do look at the physicality of a creature. So he's got these big cheeks, you know, so I would probably want something cheeky in there. I would probably, but I don't know if I would have done that or not. Because I didn't, you know, I was mimicking another English-speaking actor. So But I do find that of all the Japanese voices, that one and the Japanese voice of Yajirobe is hilarious. It's like it's like I don't speak Japanese, but it's like really screechy, like, and I love it. I'm like, that's really, really funny. So yeah, and what was interesting to me, and I don't know how they feel about it, is like, I remember working on a show called Kappa Mikey, which was an original prelay show. Who's seen Kappa Mikey? A few people. Yeah, I love Kappa Mikey. Well, I got to see the German dub of it. I'm like, oh wow, they're copying our voices. I'm the original voice for this show, right? And it was really weird to hear other nationalities do their interpretation of the voice you created. I was impressed. I saw the German version. I might have saw the Italian version. But it's very interesting to hear that as an artist to hear those other characters. Let's see if we can get somebody inland. Yeah. Goes deep into the crowd. That guy with the glasses. Yes. Stand up. Yes. He's probably loud enough. Yeah. Go ahead.
Firstly, I never thought I'd hear Dr. Crowler in real life, so that was awesome.
Yeah, Slifer Slacker. Get to work. I love doing that voice.
I have a question that you probably hear a lot. What's your opinion on Team 4-Star?
Yeah, that's a question that I don't. Well, my question is, why do people want my opinion on it? I've never understood that. Like, I've never understood what difference my opinion makes on that. Because I have a strong opinion about it. People think, I hate them or whatever, and I don't. I'm a big believer in credit where credit's due, and I'm a big believer in respecting a license. So, the Toei has asked them to stop numerous times, and they don't, and I don't believe it's fair use. I think they're funny, talented guys, and I wish them the best. But it's also frustrating for me because while it's very funny, I travel the world to promote the show I'm working on, and I don't work on that show. So then I would have to support and promote something that not only the parent company is not thrilled about, but I don't even work on. So I guess I don't understand why my opinion matters on it even. No offense to you. But I try to understand that. Because it's become quite a business for them, and it's a tricky thing when you're looking at international copyright and fair use, and then another country that, to put it in perspective from the Japanese perspective, and this is not me speaking for them, but I can speak from other shows. I was working on a show, typically they don't like parody or mockery of their shows. Most Japanese companies do not. And I learned this the hard way when I was working on a show called Berserk, and we did outtakes, and we put it on the reel, and at first we got in trouble. And then another company said, don't do outtakes. And then after we finished the show, this is when I was an ADR director at NYAV Post, after we finished the show, it wasn't Berserk, it was a different show, they go, well, did you do any outtakes? And we said, yes. And they go, okay, we want them. But most companies, it's a cultural thing for them. So, and I care about the character and stewarding the brand and the character and the sanctity of the character so much that I want to keep that, pure for them and follow their rules versus what we might want or think we're entitled to in America or Canada in this case. So for people to draw speculation or what I think or whatever, I'm laying it out what I think right now. It's and I would do it. These guys are very funny. I wish them the best, but I don't work on that show. So you know what I mean? Like, I'm here to promote Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Super, and I wish that I don't like the idea that. We have this entitlement in America where it's like, well, if it's out there, I can just use it. It's fair use. And it'd be kind of like, what if you drew a manga and then I just decided to go take it and do whatever I want with it and put it up on YouTube and make money off it? Like, there's the reason Disney and other big companies control their IP, because it's about, and it also, it hurts art. A lot of people think it helps art, but to me as an artist, I get the idea of a mashup and I get the idea of a parody because I write parodies for music, but I create my own music tracks and I do my own production on it when I do it. But then it also tells lots of kids that it's okay to just take some visual art, and I don't understand why our copyright and parody laws don't protect the visual aspects that you can just, even on a live action movie. And so I've talked to several lawyers about it because I wanted to understand it. And it's very strange because you can copyright something for so many years and then it's fair use or whatever, but they don't necessarily have that law. So just because they're selling it in the US doesn't mean that our parody laws should apply to them. And at the very least, I believe that if I did a parody and I put it up online and the parent company said, hey, that's not cool, I would take it down, because just out of respect, even if I was legally entitled, out of respect for and what if Akira Toriyama came out? Like, he's never said anything about it. But what if he said, hey man, I'm not cool at this. Is everybody gonna bitch at Akira Toriyama like they bitch at me? Because they do. They gripe at me all the time because I don't abjectly support it. So I don't understand it. But I'm a big believer in original content, and it's a great way to cut your chops, to improvise and do parody, and it's a great way to get your chops in gear. But I've tried to make an original animation before, and I haven't finished it. It's really hard to make a hit. So yeah, you can riff on somebody's show all day and use their animation, but you're riding on somebody else's back. And so I take issue with that. I think it comes from my classical music training, because as a classical musician, it's very strictly like, you do not plagiarize Tchaikovsky. You do not, it's not something you do. So I get other people are cool with it, and I'm not uncool with it. I'm just trying to focus on, what I've been saying this whole time. So sorry about the long answer, but, sorry. Anyway, thank you. Yes.
Hi. Thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
Has there been any movies, shows, games, anything that you've wanted to do?
It's really weird, because I don't, I think actors, I'm not a typical actor. I don't know if it's because I was started out in music or what. I don't sit around going, all right, I want to be the next Spider-Man or whatever, I don't.
You don't?
I don't, there's a couple of properties that I'm working on right now. I've signed NDAs on that I'm real excited about. And I don't, sometimes I'll see a live action show, or I'll think of a live action version of something that I would like to do that's an anime, and then sometimes they'll make it into that. Or I'll want to produce something. I wanted to redub the voices on Fantastic Planet and update it, because it was recorded in the 60s, and it's fine for its time, but I'm like, it'd be really interesting to update that. It's very good in French. It's one of my favorite old animations. But I'm more interested in doing original stuff, like that stuff that either I create or that, it's a new show with a new character. I don't know that I'd want to be the 6th voice of Batman or whatever, even though I played Batman doing a Christian Bale voice match in The Dark Knight Rises for iPad, to be very clear, because Kevin Conroy's my Batman. So I would never take any of his credit, but Kevin is an amazing actor and a great guy. And I remember watching Batman long before. Fun fact, I was watching Batman, the animated series, when it came out, before I was a voice actor, and then and I went to school with a guy named Chris Carter, and I played French horn on 2 of his movie soundtracks. He went on to move to LA to work on Batman, the animated series, as a composer, and then wrote the music theme song for Batman Beyond, and now he was composing for all kinds of different animated series. He was a composition student at North Texas, and I was a French horn performance major. I played on a couple of his movies for $40 in pizza, back in the, I don't know, was it the 90s, I guess. I played on a movie called A Matter of Honor, and then I played on El Mariachi, the prequel to Desperado. I played French horn on that. That was before I was a voice actor. So weird connections, which is why I think it's so important that everybody, when you go to school, it's more than what you learn there, it's the connections you make and how that network goes into the professional world. It makes a big difference in that. How much time do we have? Got a few minutes? There's a guy over here. Wait, I got somebody in the middle.
We have 10 minutes.
Cool. There'll be one question, because I'll talk for 10 minutes.
Which one?
Yes, sure, Superman. And then we'll get the guy way in the blue in the back, in the beard.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. What vocal exercises do you do before getting that kind of range that you have?
None. No. I don't do vocal exercises, and I should. I did a lot of vocal exercises in choir, and I was a choir director. I've been doing this voice so long. It's once you learn breathing technique, the most I have to do now, and it's getting worse as I age, but most I have to do now is if I go to a session and there's a lot of screaming, I'll tell the director, hey, can I do all this dialogue first as a warm-up? But if I were doing vocal exercises, it's usually breathing, rib stretching exercises, your standard, or checking my range from my falsetto down. I'll stretch everything. And over enunciate each line, because it helps stretch your mouth muscles. But generally for Goku, I'm usually warmed up by the time I get to the studio. Oddly enough, singing along in your car is and I also talk a lot, so I'm always kind of warmed up, where other people, and it also depends on your physicality. Like, I've always been gifted with being able to just heal really quickly and not have to do a big warm-up, even when I was a horn player. So once I'm warm, I'm warm. And when I'm playing a horn a lot, I don't even warm up, because I blow a few notes and I'm ready to go. But as I get older, it is a little trickier. And the main thing is I think the key is, instead of warming up, is to make sure you remember proper vocal technique in the booth, so that you don't mess up your voice for later. A lot of people are using a lot of lozenges and other stuff, and you can tease, and I do that afterwards. I try not to mess with that, because if you get hooked into that, and then you need it, and then it becomes kind of like this psychosomatic crutch or whatever, then you don't have your lozenge that day, you don't have your magic tea that day, you get insecure and you might not perform as well when you probably would perform just fine without it. So lots of water, lots of stretching, lots of vocal warm-up from a kind of organic perspective. But there are legit warm-ups you can do, like, you get on piano and go, and doing that, play along, there's different phrases you can say, different tongue twisters you can say, and I'll use those when I get stuck, but I don't do a lot of that. I probably should. But breath support's key. Yes, guy with the beard, yes. Which is every guy in Canada practically. I don't know. Well, it's weird because I talked to them about that. I thought that Goku was the mascot for the 2020 Olympics. Then someone from Japan who works at Toei said, no, I checked on it. It's not. He's one of many mascots. And then they did intimate to me that maybe I might want to come out. But I'm like, well, you're going to bring out Masako Nozawa. You're not going to want me out there. But, if they wanted like the English version to come out there for the American, to cheer on the American contestants, maybe, I don't know. I would love to go. I've been to Japan once. I'm planning to go back this year or next year for just a long trip, just to really see the countryside, because I have such a close association with the country, and I'm a bit of a Japanophile. And so, if that's the right word even. But yeah, man, I would love that. I think it'd be great. Who's next? Let's do one or two more. The guy with the squall. Yes, you're a squall. Yes. Well, I knew Piano Squall back in the day. The guy who plays piano, and now he's a composer for Sony, I think. Yeah, I'm disappointed. Not in myself is what I mean.
We're wondering if there will potentially be a rematch someday where your controller isn't broken before you start.
Well, yeah, first my controller was messed up, and on this next one, I did pretty well, and my team did better than me, and I guess I can't use this as an excuse because they had the same problems I was having, but I didn't have any sound in my headphones, and I time all my combos with sound effects, so I was like listening for I was listening for everything. But my other teammates, like Justin Briner, kicked ass without any sound. So I was like, well, maybe I need to change my strategy and not use sound as my... I'm not good with the visuals, so I just pay attention to audio. Anyway, by the way, for those of you, I'm doing a panel tomorrow too, aren't I? I'm really surprised.
Yep.
Cool.
Where else can they find you this weekend?
I will be at my table till 7 tonight. I'll be at my table tomorrow and Sunday. During most of the day, I'll have breaks throughout the day. Can I have one more question? Are we out?
Yeah,
let's do one more.
One more question.
Ding!
Quick, though.
I'll do a quick answer.
Yeah.
Yes, ding! Yeah, this guy.
Hi, Sean. So, what's your favorite manga? And if you've ever read any manga, have you finished anything?
Here's the thing. I read the Dragon Ball manga, and I read the Dragon Ball Z manga, but I get so nervous about reading manga because I don't trust the translators. I never trust the translators. And Viz does a great job. Viz produces a lot of manga. But every time I'll look at Viz, and I'm sure it's a fine translation, then I'll look at something else. I'm such a purist. I'm always be going, did he really say that? Would it be different if they... And so I probably should read more manga, because I probably would like a lot. I feel like I would probably like manga, because I've read some of it, but I haven't... The only thing I have on my shelf is Dragon Ball. I don't have anything else. And I almost bought Shaman King because I was in that show, and I want to get My Hero Academia manga because I've tried to read the manga because they won't let me be on that show. No, I'm kidding. That's not it. They haven't said anything to me about it. But yeah, that's interesting. It's something I've wanted to explore. I'm such a stickler on translations because I'm afraid they're not going to get... What I've learned about translating is you need to be a technical translator, but you also need to have an acumen in English for writing poetically. You need to be able to really interpret language. And most translators are very good mechanically. They get the meaning, but they don't, once they're done, hone that into something that matches the emotional flavor. They'll just get the raw content down, Most translators do. And I'm looking for something that gives me the same experience as the Japanese guy reading his own Japanese language, right? And so I don't ever trust that. And I suppose I should. I guess I could be really picky and try to learn Japanese, which would be really difficult to learn the hiragana and the kanji or how that works together. Learning spoken Japanese would probably be a lot easier than learning actual kanji and hiragana or whatever sets of... There's several different sets of characters apparently. I'm not an expert in that language at all. Anyway, this is my 7th or 8th year in Toronto. I love Toronto. I love coming to Canada. I considered living here, given our current presidential state. But I'm a madman, and I'm not exaggerating at all.
All right.
Thank you so much, and I'll be at my table all weekend. And you guys are so lovely for listening to me yammer all this time and being so cool with me. So thank you so much.
Yep.
I love you guys. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I'll be back later.
I'm going to ask you guys to please stay seated. Please stay seated. Yes. And as this lovely man gets ready to go off.
I get to leave first.
Yes.
Because I have to go back to my table. And it'll
Yes.
take forever. Very awkward. So I will high five on the way out.
And clap. Just clap. Yay, we love him. Remember? Yeah.